9 years ago, the Fellowship of the Ring travelled to the Two Towers and defeated Sauron with help of an army inspired by the return of the king. Now, an unexpected journey takes place that will not only result in the desolation of Smaug, but will also force Bilbo Baggins to make it there and back again. In short, welcome to the Hobbit films. And I'm just going to jump straight into it. It's nice to see the set of Middle-earth, the fictional Middle-earth, yet again after 9 years' absence following the return of the king. I mean, the set designs are all there, the special effects are all there, but what's not there is the more darker, serious, action-packed pace and esque. Whereas The Lord of the Rings focused on Frodo, the Hobbit series focuses on Bilbo, and An Unexpected Journey sees Bilbo invited by Gandalf and a series of dwarves, including Thorin Oxenshield, played by Richard Armitage, on a quest to reclaim the Lonely Mountain, which was once the Grey Dwarf Kingdom until it was destroyed and taken over by the dragon Smaug. A bit unwilling at first, after being inspired by Gandalf, Bilbo agrees to come. And in this film, the quest sees our heroes caught in tussles with trolls and goblins, and up against one of Thorin's deadliest and fought dead enemies, a leader of an orc army who has vengeance against Thorin. Along the way, Bilbo encounters two sort of links for the Lord of the Rings series. I shall get into more detail when I go into this more detail. I have to say, it is brilliant to see Middle-earth again. 9 years after the return of the king, it's brilliant to see the set design, the location set, and everything. Peter Jackson and his crew must have had a lovely time rebuilding New Zealand to its Middle-earth state. And of course, unlike The Lord of the Rings, which was a bit less acting, more action, this film focuses more on the acting, and the acting is terrific, especially from Martin Freeman, who of course we all know from Sherlock, Ian McKellen, who we all know as Gandalf or Magneto, Richard Armitage, who we know from Spooks and Robin Hood on BBC, and finally, Andy Serkis. That's right, the great Andy Serkis is back as Gollum, in a story that links in with the beginning of the Fellowship of the Ring and how the One Ring has fallen into Bilbo's hands. But the best actor in the film would have to be Sylvester McCoy. The original 7th Doctor, he plays Wizard Radagast the Brown, who's a bit more eccentric than Gandalf, but still serious. Like I say, his eccentricity is more than his seriousness, because of course he lives in his home. When it's attacked and his animals are attacked, he goes out to try and find Gandalf, and at one point even lures several orc creatures away from Gandalf on a sled pulled by rabbits. Now, I had to admit, I had to stifle a laugh when I saw that. Sylvester McCoy, at his age, riding a sleigh being pulled by rabbits. You gotta think in real life that has to be a recipe for disaster. But, like I say, it was a funny part, a very funny part. But the funniest bit would have to be near the beginning, because Bilbo is approached by Gandalf to join the quest and he declines, but then later on, Gandalf and the Dwarf army all arrives at Bilbo's home and proceed to help themselves to their food and the ideas of the quest. Throughout all this, Bilbo is trying to save his mother's crockery, only to find a very unique way, because all the dwarfs just throw it all over. They throw it to the next person, to the next person, to the next person, and by the time it's all finished, they're all clean. Bilbo's shock face at the end says it all. But as I say, I really enjoyed that bit. It was just so funny, and it just made me realise this isn't Lord of the Rings anymore. Lord of the Rings was more action pace, quick pace. This is more slow pace, with some very comedic moments, even if it does get a bit dark towards the end. The second funniest moment would have to be with the trolls. because the trolls are taking the dwarfs' ponies and planning to eat them. Bilbo tries to rescue them, only to be captured. The dwarf army try to save him, only to be captured themselves. And all while the trolls are trying to figure out how to cook them, Bilbo tries to save time by encouraging the trolls not to eat the dwarfs straight away and try to discuss seasoning with them. Eventually it all leads to all the dwarves claiming they have parasites inside them and trying to discourage the trolls, and that brings just enough time for Gandalf to come in and cause the trolls to turn to stone. By this point it made me realise, it's true. The Hobbit series is more light-hearted and funny than Lord of the Rings. But that's not to say it's a bad thing, because you can't just have an ongoing series which is more focused on action, action, action. You have to try some different genres somewhere. But for the few action sequences that are inside the whole film, they are actually pretty good. There's one when the dwarf army are fighting the goblins, and it just becomes all the chase down the cliff edges and all over the place trying to escape them, because you're slashing ropes, bits of bridges, bits of wood are going everywhere, it all goes crashing down trying to avoid the goblins. It does work. It does work. That bit I really enjoyed. But like I say, I'm more an action person, and a film with not many action sequences does tend to get a bit boring. But overall, what do I think of An Unexpected Journey? I like it. It's not as good as Lord of the Rings, but I like it. It's light-hearted, it's got some very funny moments, some solid acting from Martin Freeman, Ian McKellen and Sylvester McCoy. But as I say, despite the lack of action sequences, I really enjoy it. And I love how this first film ties in with the Fellowship of the Ring, of how Bilbo finds Gollum, steals the One Ring and takes it with him, which all ties in with the beginning of the Fellowship of the Ring, and how Gollum is desperate to get the ring back. That I really enjoyed. That twist. So overall, I like An Unexpected Journey. As I say, not as good as any of the Lord of the Rings films, but not entirely bad. And now that I've seen this film, I can now see The Desolation of Smaug, which now features Benedict Cumberbatch. Tune in next week when I review The Desolation of Smaug and see Martin Freeman, that is, go up against Benedict Cumberbatch, as in man or Hobbit versus Dragon. See you then!